Hi, I'm Bess.
And I'm Raphael.
And we are Two Peas in a Kitchen.
In today's video, we're going to show you how to make an easy, chunky, traditional cold gazpacho soup.
As always, we will share time-saving tips and tricks to help home cooks make easy, elegant eats.
If this sounds like exactly what you need, hit that subscribe button and join us in the fun.
Okay, so to make this amazing fresh gazpacho, we have very simple ingredients. We have 8 Roma tomatoes. You can see these have already just been coarsely chopped and seeded. Rafi's going to show you how to do that. We have 2 red peppers. We have 2 English cucumbers with the ends chopped off. We have 1 red onion. We have a good quality white wine vinegar. We have some organic tomato juice that does not have a lot of junk in it. It's just fresh tomato juice. We have our favorite California Olive Ranch extra virgin olive oil. We have a teaspoon of kosher salt and a teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper.
Okay, so the first thing that I want to show is a trick on how to chop up your bell peppers and how to de-seed them. So I actually learned this tip at a cooking class that I took years ago, and they called it rolling your pepper. So I'm going to teach you how to do that. It is the easiest thing. I do this every single time I cut up a pepper. So what we're going to do, so get a nice sharp chef's knife. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the top off. Straight down that way. Okay, then I'm going to take the other end, and I'm particular about the seeds. Here's my garbage bowl. I don't like to have any of these seeds. Then I'm going to cut off the bottom end. And here is the fun part. Then what you're going to do is you're going to simply just make a cut straight down like that. Then here's the trick. So then you're going to start over here and very gently, don't cut yourself, you're going to roll the pepper. So you're going to cut through that way, and then you're going to hold it down here, and then it comes right off. Super simple. Then, there's always a few seeds that are stuck, and you've de-seeded the entire pepper, and then you can chop it. So I always do this. And then for this recipe, you don't want to obviously, shove in this entire pepper into your blender. We're going to be using a blender for that. So I'm just gonna make some rough chops here. And we're going to keep all the ingredients separate, and you'll see why in a minute. And I'm just going to take this. Now, sometimes this will actually come out. Actually, here we go. It came off pretty easily. Sometimes it comes off more easily than others. I'll just clean up the seeds a little bit and just give it a nice little rough chop. And there you go. Very simple. And we're going to do our second pepper. Just go a little bit faster since I already explained. And we're done with our peppers. Okay, now we're going to have half of a large red onion. So I'm just going to cut all the way down. And again, a rough chop. You don't want to throw in your whole onion that way. So after I cut it in half, I'm going to cut off one end and cut off the other end. And this makes it easy to take the skin off. There we go. Easy peasy. And I'm just gonna rough chop, just a few times to make it easy in the blender. And there's our onion. Okay, so now we have our 2 English cucumbers. We've already cut the ends off. And again, we still wanna have nice chunks. So just be careful. I'm gonna slice lengthwise. Be very careful, and then just give it a few rough chops. And this will make it much easier in the blender. And I'm going to throw these in our bowl here, and I'm going to do the same with the other cucumber. Very simple. Just start it off. Move your hand so you don't cut yourself. And there we have our cucumbers. We're almost done. The last thing we're going to do, so we already have our chunks of tomatoes in here. I just wanted to show you how we clean our tomatoes. So we use these Roma tomatoes for multiple reasons. First of all, they're a lot meatier than regular tomatoes. They have less water content. These are actually amazing for making tomato sauce. And they have less seeds, and they're also easier to de-seed. So I'm going to show you real quick how we do that. I like to cut off the end, so you get rid of that part. I'll throw that in here. Then I'm going to slice it straight down the middle here. And then I like to go this way as well. And then I just simply use, there's actually not that many seeds, but I'll just take my fingers, I've washed my hands, and then I'll do that. And the seeds actually come out very, very easily. There we go. I'll do it one more time. And one more. And that's it. I'm just going to cut them maybe in half again and throw them in with the rest of our tomatoes, and we're good to go.
Okay, so now that we have all of our vegetables chopped, what we're going to do is we're going to take each separate vegetable and put them into our blender and blend them separately. That's very important with the vegetables that we're using in this gazpacho because they each require a little bit less blending time. For example, if you put the cucumbers in the blender at the same time as the tomato would get pulverized where the cucumber was the right texture of what we're looking for. We're trying to get the vegetables to be small, but we want a little bit of a chunky texture to the soup. So we will start with our tomato. The blender that I am using in this recipe is our Vitamix, and it is a kitchen tool that we very highly recommend. It is a more expensive blender. However, it's one of those things that's really worth its weight in gold. It has a much more powerful motor than most blenders do, which allows you to use it almost as a food processor, whereas a lot of blenders might be a little harder to use with things that are maybe a little bit tougher to blend than some of the things we're using today. It's an incredible blender and we really highly recommend it. We use it all the time. We're going to be using this in a lot of our future soups. We're going to do a whole series of soups through the winter that are super easy to do in the Vitamix, and you won't believe how useful it is. So we're going to start with our tomatoes. So we have two easy peasy tips we're going to start with right off the bat with this recipe. And the first one is that it requires very little prep time. You hardly even have to chop these vegetables at all. It takes 5 minutes of time, and they don't have to be exact. There's nothing beautiful about how they're chopped. And the second easy peasy tip is that it's all done in a blender. What could be easier? So we're going to start with our tomatoes, and you'll see they don't take very long at all. I like to use the pulse technique of blending with these vegetables. Most blenders have that, no matter what kind of blender you have, just so you can kind of watch it, especially at the end. But you can see there that that's about ready. It still has some pretty chunky texture to it. We do not want this gazpacho to be a pureed soup. So after each vegetable, we're just going to take it right over a big bowl here and take each vegetable out and put it right into the bowl. And it does not matter that there's residue from the tomato still in your blender, because obviously it's going to all end up in the same place. So the next vegetables that we're going to put in here will be our roughly chopped English cucumbers. Now these obviously, oops, I dropped one on the floor. These obviously are going to take a little bit longer than our tomatoes, but not much. And again, I'm going to use the pulse. Another thing that's really great about the Vitamix is it has this awesome wand that allows you to kind of mix things in. It has a safety mechanism, a little lump in it there so that you don't put it too deep in, and it allows you to kind of get everything from the corners down in it while it's mixing. So there you go. Again, when I do this, it's okay that there's some that's a little bit more pureed at the bottom and some chunkier pieces at the top, because that's going to all add to a really delicious, very fresh, crispy, chunky texture of our gazpacho soup. And that's really what gazpacho soup should have, is that nice, fresh vegetable crunch when you're having it. So here is our two first veggies there. Now we're going to keep going. Next, we're going to do our peppers. Those pop right in there. Okay. Again, I'm going to use that same kind of pulsing. And that's already done. Look at that. Mere minutes and we're 3/4 of the way done. The vegetables are so fresh and so delicious right now. They smell amazing while I'm making this. So here we go with our onions. I do find sometimes the onions get stuck to the sides. Maybe a little more. Oh, these are actually working really well. Okay. Now I will say, when I do the onions, this is the only vegetable where I open it up and I really get them all off the sides. A lot of people do not like to get big mouthfuls of raw onion, and I am one of those people. So I am sensitive to that. I like to make sure that I am really getting the onion into small pieces, because that can really ruin the soup for some people. I know that Raphael is not one of those people because he loves onion. Okay, so that looks great, and the onion is really much more uniform after I took it off the sides like that. That is the only vegetable that I think you have to be a little bit more careful about. And here we are. Okay, so I got a little chunk here that I forgot. So now what you're going to do before we continue with the rest of our ingredients is you're just going to mix up all the veggies like that. And you can see that there's a wide variety of texture in there. You have some of the veggies that are a little bit more pureed, but a lot of the veggies are still nice and crunchy and have a little bit more texture to them, and that is exactly what we want it to look like. Look at how beautiful that is. It is really gorgeous. And that's it for that part, and we're ready to continue on with the rest of our soup. Okay, so after we've pureed and coarsely blended all of our vegetables here, we're ready to move on with the rest of the soup. We're actually almost done, if you could believe that. The next thing that we're going to add is 1 tablespoon of a really good quality white wine vinegar, which I've already measured here. We're going to add in 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon, this is freshly ground black pepper, that's always our preference, and it really smells amazing. Then we're going to add in 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. We like this California Olive Ranch olive oil. One thing that's great about this gazpacho is there's definitely a personal taste element to all of it. Everything does not have to be super perfect with the measurements for this soup. So for example, some people might like their soup a little bit soupier, and some people might prefer it a little bit chunkier. So some of this is a little bit of an approximation. I'm going to add 2.5 cups. This is a good quality organic tomato juice that does not have a ton of junk in it. Some tomato juice really does. So this is 2.5 cups. Some people might like it a little bit soupier and might want to add more juice to it, and that's totally fine. That's very personal. So that's where it's going to get into a little bit of your personal taste. You can see the texture here is pretty, it's going to be a pretty thick, chunky gazpacho. That is how we like it. It is very delicious, especially at this time of year where all the vegetables are so flavorful and everything is so delicious. The other thing that is really about personal taste with gazpacho is the spice. It's technically a spicy soup. I have not added spice to this. Usually I put about a half teaspoon of cayenne pepper in it before I let other people kind of add their own. So if I'm serving this at a dinner, I often just put out a variety of hot sauces and people can choose what they want, or I put out a little bit of cayenne pepper if people want to add more. Not everybody likes it spicy. Some people just like it fresh and mild without the added spice. That's something that I think is best sort of personally adjusted, but that is it. This is our gazpacho. Look at how beautiful it is. This is an amazing thing to serve as a starter for any dinner. It looks beautiful. We're gonna show you our next easy peasy tip in just a minute. We like to serve this and store it right out of a pitcher, which is where this is gonna go. Another thing that's really great about this soup is it actually tastes better if you make it in advance. This can be made 2 or 3 days in advance. Certainly should be made at least a day in advance. The flavors really meld together as it's waiting to be served, and it really tastes more delicious. Often I will adjust the seasoning a little bit right before I serve it. Might need a little bit of extra salt, but that's it. Easy peasy, it's done.
Time to taste.
It's our favorite part of every video. Okay, so first of all, we've moved our soup into these pitchers, and this is one of our absolute most favorite easy peasy tips that we love for all of our soups. This is the easiest. We're gonna link these pitchers in our blog post. This is the easiest way to store and also serve soup. You can
pour it right out. That's the great thing about these.
So
it seals back up.
If you have company coming, you just put the bowls out, pour it, little cups, and gazpacho is a great starter. Sometimes we like to use it, little cups of it when people are just arriving. And this also pairs really well with our homemade croutons, particularly the cheddar jalapeno croutons. Now,
game changer.
Croutons, excuse me. So one of the things that we talked about when we were making the soup is that not everybody likes it spicy, but we do.
I like some hot sauce.
So we're gonna add a little hot sauce.
Add your favorite hot sauce,
to our
Tabasco,
tasting here.
Frank's hot sauce, whatever you like.
You can really use any, and we're gonna give this a taste.
Stir it up. Do you stir it up first?
I just like to get the hit of the spicy, but I'll stir it. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Okay, ready? Here we go. We're gonna give this a taste. It smells amazing. It's so good.
So fresh tasting.
It's super refreshing. It's really great this time of year. And it's a really nice alternative to salad.
It really is. I get sick of eating salads all the time.
And it's so much easier when you have company coming than making a salad.
And you can pour it right out and you can have it done ahead of time and you're done.
It's a super easy peasy alternative. So we hope you'll try it and we hope that you'll love it as much as we do.
We hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you've tried making this easy, traditional, chunky gazpacho soup, make sure you leave us a comment down below to let us know what you think. The link to the blog post is also included in the description below for reference.
And as always, please join our pod, subscribe to our channel, and please continue to join us on all of our cooking adventures. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye for now.
Bye.